Yeah, we're coming to your city. Gonna play our guitars and sing you a country song. We'll all be flying higher than a jetliner. And if you want a little bang in your yin yang, come along.
Well, come on along and welcome aboard the Indiana Sports Beat with Coy O'Leary coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, powered by Rivals, here on this Tuesday, May 12th. Another great day on the program today. Josh Hemholdt, national recruiting analyst from Rivals, is going to join us. Chronic Hoosier will join us as well. Todd, there's plenty to talk about. First thing I want to mention before I forget, you remember back when we were doing the after the game shows, Robert the Truth was always there, always commenting. Oh, yeah. Down in Evansville, I got a message. I don't know who it was from, phone message 2 days ago that said that he's not doing well, that the Truth is not doing well possibly. It may have been hurt in an accident on Sunday, I think. So we're
for real?
Yeah, so our thoughts and prayers are with Robert the Truth down in Evansville. But, man, I hope you're doing better, brother. Hope whatever it is that you're getting through that, we're thinking about you. We appreciate you following the program and following us. So I'm going to give him a shout-out for certain.
Solid listener.
Absolutely, man. So we're thinking about you, Robert. Hope you get better, brother.
He usually agrees with a lot of things I say. So
always positive, too. Boy, he's always
get him back
the
to
record.
health.
I would love how his comments were always just whatever the record was. If it was a win, he would just go 15-2, whatever it is. Just that's all I want to talk about is the win, baby. Yeah, he's a great
Mr. Positivity.
We're thinking about you, brother. Also, there's a GoFundMe page set up for Cassandra Wilson, the mother of Indiana football player Cam Wilson, tragically killed over the weekend. Cam Wilson someone set up a GoFundMe page. You can find that on my social media. It's on the Hoosier.com's page. You can find it everywhere there. So if you want to find it, but please, if you can help with them, besides Cam, he has a sister that was left behind. The father also killed over the weekend. So bad stuff there, but hopefully we can help them pick that up a little bit and help that family out. So always trying to help. I mean, there's always ways that you can help people, Todd, and then there's just always opportunities, and there's another one for us to try to do that.
Yeah, this is a terrible, tragic situation for the family, and you know those costs for. I mean, I read the stuff about them trying to raise money for funeral arrangements and costs and burial costs. I mean, not just the cost of that, but the process of going through that right now is so much more difficult just because of the pandemic. But yeah, for sure, definitely a great. If you have the opportunity to do that or the ability to help them out, it would certainly be a great cause.
Or if you guys are gamers, any of you that are gamers out there, don't forget Will Sheehy and crew have the NBA 2K Challenge. That also is up on the Hoosier.com. You can find that information there. Jordan Hulls, make sure you enter his code in that. You can play with former Hoosiers, against former Hoosiers, against pro players. That would have to be kind of cool. Again, we talked about this, Todd. I'm not a gamer, you're not a gamer, but that would be cool to be doing that against pro players or against the Hoosiers or with them. That'd be kind of a cool thing.
You know, there's age restrictions when it comes to this thing from a coolness factor. And really, it correlates right along with the same as your ability to play. So, you know, it's kind of cool if you're good at it when you're 16 to 22 years old. If you're really good at it, you know, it makes sense and you're cool. If you're a 38-year-old guy that's really good at 2K, that's not a great sign.
Yeah, I'm not the.
You probably lied about your dating profile on some online dating site. You probably are catfishing somebody. You're just spending way too much time on the couch.
You sure know all the lingo. You know all the lingo.
Man, what else do I have to do but sit here and read freaking internet stuff all day long? It's crazy.
Jordan Hall, speaking of which, he'll join us tomorrow on the program. So we'll talk to Jordan about the NBA 2K Challenge.
I'm so mad at Jordan Hulls right now. I can't even tell you.
Why? Because he didn't invite you in it?
Definitely not.
I didn't think so. That's what I was thinking. I'm like, oh, man.
He posted a picture a couple of days ago about a pizza and
I saw that.
Sink the Biz fries from Nick's. So how in the world can you look at that and not go get it at your next opportunity? So yesterday, I proceeded to eat a medium pizza and an entire bucket of Sink the Biz fries by myself.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it was grazing. Like, it took me a while to get it all down, but I accomplished it.
Wow. Well, I guess I'm proud of you. That's an accomplishment. That's something to get done.
I'm no quitter.
I'm telling you, I don't know. I think I could have done that in college. I probably could have done it a couple months ago too. But that's hey man, you're supporting the local economy.
Entirely Jordan's fault.
It's all good stuff though. Well, tomorrow we can talk to him about that.
Well, he's still burning calories off. He can afford to eat stuff like that.
Yeah, he's training kids. He's training kids and doing stuff, and
he's staying in shape.
Well, the golf course will be your friend here soon, constantly, as 80-degree temperatures are heading our way, man. Thursday, I cannot wait. Tomorrow is the last cold day. Tonight should be the last cold night. That's it till next fall, no doubt.
I'm in. You don't have to sell me on that.
I'm guaranteed it. Tim hit the text line. So does the Zion Williamson accusations bring Duke into the spotlight? Well, of course it does, but I'm really, man, Todd, with Louisville and Kansas and LSU on the chopping block. Now Duke, there's no way the NCAA takes action against all these institutions at the same time. It's just not going to – that's like a NASCAR race and taking out the top 5 drivers out of the race.
Here's something that doesn't make any sense to me, though. Like, explain this. And I know what their fans would say. It's because there's nothing to find. But with all the stuff that you were finding out about all these different schools, how is the one school that we all probably know has to be doing something terribly illegal when it comes to NCAA rules in Kentucky? How are they not ever even hardly mentioned in these things? It's crazy.
Well, it is, but here's the funny thing is somebody made this comment yesterday. I forgot who it was or where they said it, but he said, "So, did you all really think that Duke was so good that they were out recruiting the cheaters? That they were doing better than the cheaters? No,
yeah,
you can't outdo the guys that are cheating without cheating." And of course,
it's very rare. Let's put it that way. It happens. It happens occasionally. You'll get the kid that their family, doesn't need the money or doesn't give in to the lure from the big shoe deals and shoe companies, and you'll find the occasional parent, but the majority of them are not that way.
The big thing here on this particular deal is it's Zion Williamson's former marketing company that I think he dropped for a bigger company,
right?
And they're the biggest thing is it's not just Adidas and Nike. We expect them to do that because they don't care. They just want it themselves. But they're also making accusations that Duke provided benefits, special benefits. We'll have to see what that is. But it's going to be very interesting. I mean, Mark Emmert and NCAA, they're holding on to their butts right now because the name, image, likeness stuff is all out there, and they don't know how to control that. And, it's starting to kind of slip away. And then when you have all this stuff to add on top of it, and you've got a whole bunch of people going, well, what are you going to do? And then I don't know. It's going to be very intriguing to see how this plays out.
I don't even understand what you do with it. I mean, I truly don't. I mean, I've been saying this, for a couple of weeks now. They almost just have to let it go and start over and stay from now on, because the NCAA itself has done such a terrible job at policing this that they're partially to blame.
Jennifer just texted in from Evansville. It's back to your pizza reference, but this may be the greatest text that we've ever had. Every pizza is a personal pizza if you try hard enough.
I prove that statistic all the time.
I love that. That's true. That's right, man. That's the way to look at it. Hey, I was trying hard enough. It was a personal pizza.
I was inspired by Michael Jordan on Sunday night in those. I mean, he talked about, win at all costs, and I was going to beat that pizza at all costs yesterday, and I didn't give up.
Did I already mention USC? I know we talked about it earlier. I can't always get confused. USC basketball, man, they are picking. They take 4 transfers they picked up to add to their roster. The West Coast teams, you had UCLA, Washington, Gonzaga, which is not in the Pac-12, but Gonzaga, there's going to be some basketball out there again. Those teams are kind of stacking up.
You sound like Bill Walton.
Well, I'm not bragging on them. I'm just saying.
Let's be for real.
I'm not bragging on them.
The transfer portal is. I see it as a much bigger problem than the name, image, likeness, and the money issue. I mean, because if in my favorite term, if kids are just allowed to transfer all willy-nilly without any ramifications of anything, I mean, it's going to be a nightmare. Yeah, and I hate that. I am not a fan anymore of the transfer portal. I don't. Once a kid makes a decision, I mean, there should be a reason. You should have some good, valid reasons why you choose the school that you go to. And unless there's a coaching change, I do not see the reason. I don't see any reason why you should get to transfer without sitting out.
Yeah, I'm with you. I agree. It's too much, but we'll see how. Yeah, it's just like it's getting away from them. And so it's going to be weird to see how that turns out. But, man, yeah, they've really packed on the players.
I mean, here's what you look at that from my perspective with that is one of two things. Either they didn't recruit very well to start. I mean, why do they have so many open scholarships available for immediate use for someone? Or two, they had a mass exodus from a group of players. So there's an issue, there's a problem. No matter which one of those is true, there's an issue with what's going on. And that coach, I know he had a bunch of success with Florida Gulf Coast for a year or two, but they've been average out there. I mean, I wouldn't say that they're not going to leapfrog UCLA. We know that.
Nope. We'll certainly see. Major League Baseball looking at an 82-game schedule, which I think would make a lot of people happy. I'm sure a lot of people would love a half season of baseball. But the biggest thing is the DH in the National League is going to be. They're going to put the DH in the National League this year because of that. Kyle Schwarber, man, he's going to be in heaven.
Because of what? Why would an 82-game schedule have to do with?
I don't know the reasoning for it, but it's going. I didn't read it, but it's in there. So Kyle Schwarber would be happy. He'll be up there just hitting, going back, sit down on the bench. He'd be a happy man. That's going to be weird. It's never to see that in the National League.
Why? Why would they change that? Do you like that rule?
I go back and forth because the purity of the game with the pitcher, you have to strategize and this and that, or you can say, all right, he can't hit, take him out, and just make it a better game. I think baseball can use all the help it can get, really. So now I'm for the DH. I used to be against it forever, but it's probably sacrilege to baseball purists.
They need to do like what golf did with the golf balls and making the golf balls bigger and longer. They need to just let them cork the bats and let them have souped up baseballs, and we'll get, those scores will be 22-20 all the time.
18 home runs a game.
Yeah, it'd be sweet. Although the distance might get to be too far to actually be able to see very well, but it'd be sweet to move the fences back about 30 feet apiece all the way around and let them cork the bats. That'll spread the field out.
Look at you started. Texting in, Tim. Todd must really love Bill Walton. He always brings him up. You hurt the one you love. Alan says, Jim, you're smoking with Walton. Boy, you got them Walton comments, boy. It starts bringing them on.
As soon as you say West Coast basketball.
I wish I could get him on.
People's IQs just drop. Because they start
it's
thinking
so good to be here with you.
Let me assure you of one thing.
I would not tell you what's coming on.
If you ever want me to hang up on a guest and not be here, have him on.
Oh, man. I would surprise you. Hey, we got a lot getting up coming up next. Josh Hemholdt from Rivals. We're going to talk some football as Indiana continues adding guys onto that roster. Stay tuned. You're listening to Indiana Sports Beat with Coy O'Leary coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studio, powered by Rivals. Back right after this. Hello, everyone. everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the golf club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. This is Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle and Leary. Indiana Sports Beat is now a part of the Rivals Network. You can go to thehoosier.com to sign up. It's free. Catch the show there each day live or at your convenience. You can also like or follow us on Facebook, follow the show's rebroadcast anywhere you podcast. If we're not on a radio station where you live, we should be. Let your local station know they need to carry Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle and Leary, or simply go to thehoosier.com.
Some of the best sounds you'll ever hear are generic, safe, effective, even money-saving, just like FDA-approved generic drugs. Even if they don't come in the exact same color or shape as their brand name equivalents, they have the same key ingredients and go through a rigorous review process. Talk to your doctor or pharmacist today and visit fda.gov/generic drugs. Generics are safe, effective, and can save you money. You'll like the sound of that.
You're listening to Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle.
Today's guest is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry of Sellersburg. You need $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle Leary, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, powered by Rivals here on this Tuesday. Now joined by Josh Hemholdt, Rivals National Football Recruiting Analyst. Hey, Josh, how are you, man?
I'm doing well, thanks.
Got Todd Leary with us here as well. Indiana, during this weird time, but they've not slowed down recruiting-wise, especially offensive line-wise, man. They've really been throwing the beef on there.
Yeah, well, hey, it all starts up front, right? If you can't secure that offensive line, it's going to be a hard time building championship ball clubs. So, Tom Allen, they know what they're doing with how they want to recruit, build that program.
Yeah, it's been kind of neat to watch them expand their footprint recruiting wise, especially a program that has no tradition or whatnot. But to see them go up to places like Michigan up north but down south and to some of these fertile recruiting grounds, it shows that while they're not up, we're not talking about them in the same light as Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, of course, but they're trying to get there, or at least up into that competitive level.
Oh, what I've always preached is as a ball club, you've got to be able to, build that foundation with your home state talent or your backyard talent. They did that. First 3, I think, commitments in this 21 class are all state of Indiana guys, and then go out and cherry pick those guys nationally that you think you have a shot at. That's going to build cohesiveness within your locker room when you start with guys that are, know your traditions and have pride in that program from an early age and know what it means to be a part of your tradition, and then, be able to pick up some of that national talent. And I think they've been able to do that for the entirety of Tom Allen's tenure there.
Yeah, and to see football is such a different beast than, say, basketball. It is so hard to turn a program around because of the time, the size, and all of that. But in this day and age of college football, where we see monsters at the top, and there's a distinctive difference between those teams up there and then everybody else trying to get to that middle ground. Indiana's just trying to get to that middle ground. How tough is it when you've got to sit in a conference, in a division with Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan State, just in your own division?
Yeah, though obviously when you're looking at teams like, Ohio State's recruiting on a level like almost nobody else in the country is right now, and they're so far out ahead of where the rest of, even SEC schools are in this 21 class. So, that's definitely when you have to go against that every single day. But then, like you mentioned, you got Penn State out there. James Franklin, in my personal interactions with head coaches, is the best recruiting head coach I've encountered. Just the way he's able to relate to people and to make people feel like they're the only person in the room. He's got that gift of being a great recruiting head coach. And, there's definitely challenges there, but you have the ability as Indiana to be able to, take advantage of a growing talent base in state. And I think they're definitely doing that. The state of Indiana, from where I started covering it a decade ago in terms of talent production, is definitely on the uptick, and that's going to benefit all the teams in state, but particularly Indiana.
Yeah, back in the day, I think it was acceptable for a long time for Indiana to not have a good football program because it's a quote unquote basketball state and basketball school and all that. But today, there's simply too much money out there to not have a viable Division I program. When you're in a big conference like the Big Ten with the TV and all that, they're forced to do this now. They are catching up, but man, it's tough to go against those teams. But what they have coming back, I'm excited to see what Indiana is going to be like next year.
Yeah, you think back, and like you mentioned, the focus was basketball for so long. But you think about when an Antoine Randall was there, and the excitement that he brought to campus, and the excitement that when you have a team that on any given Saturday can play with the best in your conference, that's an exciting thing. That's hard to duplicate in any other sport.
Yeah, well, a great sign right now is currently the football coach is earning more than the basketball coach, which I don't know has ever happened at Indiana, but that's currently the state. So there's a sign of things that are slightly changing right there.
Yeah, no doubt. And I'll tell you what, I think he's earned it. What he's building for the future. He's building long term. And you look at when Kevin Wilson was there, he was able to, get Indiana thinking a little bit differently about recruiting. He was able to bring 4 stars in. Indiana had not been recruiting 4 stars previous to that. And now you're seeing kind of year after year, you're starting to get those 4-star guys. Rashawn Williams last year, they're in the ballpark for Donovan McCulley, who I think is definitely one of the most underappreciated recruits in the entire country for how talented he is out of Indianapolis. And you got a guy like, Cooper Jones, who's, on that 4-star cusp. So, they're recruiting big-time talent and starting to build for that future.
Yeah, to me, the next, move they have to make or goal they have to accomplish, they have to start keeping the big-time in-state talent in-state. They're still going to Ohio States and to other places. That's the next move for me. They've got to get those big guys because, like you said, Indiana's not Texas or Ohio, but every state produces. There are some top talent that comes out.
Absolutely, and it is. Like I said, the state is on an uptick talent-wise, and surprisingly, now Notre Dame has a top-ranked kid in this class, is Avon, Indiana offensive tackle Blake Fisher, but Notre Dame doesn't spend a lot of time recruiting in state, and usually they were the top 2 to 3 kids. They used to have, kind of locked up for a period of time there. They're not doing that. And so they're kind of almost leaving it open for an Ohio State who's come in. Iowa came in last year. Penn State went in and got the defensive tackle out of Carmel. So there's definitely more competition, but there's more talent there too. And it's a rising tide raises all ships. And certainly it's going to raise the ship of the in-state, the flagship in-state program.
But Jim, that also goes back to what you and I have talked about, throughout the season with the football team, is they're not going to continue to get the top recruits in the state until they go beat the Ohio States and the Penn States. And it's been such a long time since that's happened that, I think that as great a recruiter as Tom Allen is, I don't think that they're going to accomplish keeping the top kids in the state at home. And I mean like the top offensive and defensive linemen and the guys who, the Ohio States and Alabamas go pluck out of any state they want to. I don't think they're going to keep those guys until they figure out a way to beat them. And once they do that, the floodgate will open. They'll be able to sign anybody.
Certainly. And top kids want to play with other top kids, and top kids want to play for championships. There's some guys out there who, they're just trying to get in best fit for themselves, academically, athletically. But the guys at the top of the heap, they want to play in New Year's Day bowls. They want to play for conference championships. They want to be in Lucas Oil at the end of the season and, contending for the Big Ten title. So no doubt, winning begets more winning and begets, getting the top guys winning on the recruiting trail.
Yeah, Indiana starts off the season next year, hopefully, again on the road at Wisconsin, a game that would normally strike fear in probably a lot of Hoosier fans' hearts. But man, I think a lot of people are looking forward to that game. There's expectations for once for this team as they head into the season with Michael Penix at the helm. If he can stay healthy, this team, there's no telling what they can actually accomplish.
It'll be interesting. That's one of those games that can signal, I think Minnesota got off to a big start last year, and all of a sudden they got some national buzz. You win, you go into Camp Randall, and you win that first game, the season. That's going to start some national buzz and get some attention for your program, which, by the way, obviously helps recruiting as well. And, people are talking about you down there in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and out east, and places that, Indiana's trying to get out to and recruit.
Josh, any names that you're hearing that I know you don't focus solely on Indiana, but that are out there that Indiana has a shot at that may be a surprise or a boost to their recruiting efforts?
Well, like I said, I think the top guy on the board has to be Donovan McCulley. He is so talented. The times I've spent around him, he's a dual threat guy. He absolutely has that ability to pick up yards with his feet, but his arm is outstanding, exceptional. He can hit, he can make every throw on the field, and he has the ability to, fit the ball into places that other programs just aren't even trying, or just other quarterbacks just aren't even going to try to throw to. Honestly, you still have that ability to in-state really kind of focus on these top guys. Kyron Montgomery's a defensive end out of Pike in Indiana or Indianapolis. He's a top talent. They've got Cooper Jones and I know Austin Booker over there at Center Grove is a big time target for them now that they lost the Rodney McGraw kid over to Penn State. So I think Booker is probably the guy to watch short term, although we don't know when Donovan McCulley is going to announce. He has a top 5. IU's a part of that. Purdue's a part of that, but so is Ole Miss. So is Missouri. You got a couple of SEC programs in there. That's kind of what I'm looking for if I'm a Hoosier fan here coming up.
The Big Ten overall, they certainly have not missed much. Ohio State, of course, probably one of, if not the top recruiting class, one of the recruiting classes coming back. But the Big Ten, strong year last year. What are you thinking this season, once we get started, what the Big Ten is going to look like?
You mean on the field?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, tough. Certainly it's going to be. I think everybody just wants to see football on the field in the fall. And, the analysis is kind of how does this affect certain teams? I think obviously younger teams are gonna have a harder time adjusting without getting that spring football. Yeah, you might get your 6 weeks before the season, but these teams operate on a year-round calendar. When you lose a couple of months, 3 months, who knows how long it will end up being, you're going to have some issues. So the established teams, obviously a team like Ohio State with Justin Fields coming back, there's a reason why they're picked to have a great season, and I think this probably separates the contenders from the pretenders in the conference even more, especially those young teams that really needed this offseason.
How's this? Well, there is no answer to this question, but the potential, how potentially, can you imagine how this is going to the COVID-19 and the season? The national champion, there's going to be differences this year. It's going to be does this year's national champion get an asterisk?
I don't know. I think that's a conversation we'll have to talk about after the season. And, we really don't have the when we have the benefit of hindsight and be able to look back and say, how much did this really impact it? I think long-term, no, it's not going to have an asterisk, but it definitely is going to change the way the game is played. And it's definitely going to change, like you said, maybe who's in that national championship game and how the season plays out because of the challenges affecting some teams more than others.
Josh Hemholdt from Rivals, National Football Recruiting Analyst. Anything you got you need to promote that we need to send out there?
No, I'll tell you what, we're the kind of the only show in town right now because recruiting just never stops, and it's been going pretty hectic here. I cooked dinner for my wife and my mother on Mother's Day, and also broke 3 commitment stories, so it's been a pretty hectic time.
I'm sure that's a proud Mother's Day. That's the one thing that has not slowed down. Thank goodness. But it's weirder, but there's just a lot more information out there, and we appreciate you staying on the forefront of it, man.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Josh Hemholdt from Rivals, I can't thank you enough. We appreciate you here on Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle Leary. We've got a lot more coming up. Chronic Hoosier is going to join us next here on the program. Stay tuned. We're back with that and more from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, powered by Rivals. Back right after this. Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the Golf Club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. This is Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle and Leary. Indiana Sports Beat is now a part of the Rivals Network. You can go to thehoosier.com to sign up. It's free. Catch the show there each day live or at your convenience. You can also like or follow us on Facebook, follow the show's rebroadcast anywhere you podcast. If we're not on a radio station where you live, we should be. Let your local station know they need to carry Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle and Leary, or simply go to thehoosier.com.
Some of the best sounds you'll ever hear are generic, safe, effective, even money-saving, just like FDA-approved generic drugs. Even if they don't come in the exact same color or shape as their brand name equivalents, they have the same key ingredients and go through a rigorous review process. Talk to your doctor or pharmacist today and visit fda.gov/generic drugs. Generics are safe, effective, and can save you money. You'll like the sound of that.
Hey, this is Jordan Hall, former Indiana Hoosier. Keep up with Indiana sports on Indiana Sports Beat.
Today's guest is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry of Sellersburg. You need $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle Leary, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, powered by Rivals, here on this Tuesday, May 12th, joined now by our good friend Chronic Hoosier. Chronic, how are you, brother?
I'm doing great, man. Always happy to be back.
Always happy to have you here. Todd was complaining earlier. Jordan Holes posted about his meal he got from Nick's the other day, including those the big fries.
Sink the Biz fries.
Sink the Biz fries. And Todd finished the entire pizza and the fries by himself.
The bucket, not the sandwich order, the bucket.
The whole bucket. I'll tell you what, man, it's funny you said that. I just saw this morning. Rumor is Jordan Hall's got his Twitter hacked, or maybe it was suspended for all the food porn he's been posting. I'm not quite sure yet, but he's trying to get back in the game here.
Oh, I didn't see that, man. I didn't see that. I'll have to. Oh man, he'll be on tomorrow, so we can talk about that. So, oh my gosh!
I don't know if you saw either. He and his wife Aubrey are expecting their third child now.
I'm gonna have to call him and tell him.
Instagram. So Jordan continues to shoot his shot on and off the court at a really high level.
Dun, dun. Dun, dun. Yeah, I'm sure she's wishing he stayed in Germany then.
He's keeping busy. There's no doubt about that. Between supporting all the local businesses and he's running a 3-guard set already, and I don't even think the first one's turned 5 yet.
Can you imagine the baby boom that's going to happen about 8 to 10 months from now?
Actually, it's funny you say that. This morning on the news, they talked about that, and then they said, yeah, you'd think that, but they did a survey, and they said 81% of the people said, no, they're not planning on conceiving during this time.
What does planning have to do
exactly,
with it?
That's why I was like, planning. That's why, yeah, so, but yeah, that's a whole bunch of great information there, Chronic. I missed that, but
Chronic, hey, I've got, Chronic is the perfect person to ask this to. Because you mention all the time about supporting the local communities and the restaurants, especially in this time. You seem like the perfect person to ask this. I kind of had a Seinfeld moment yesterday, and it's happened several times in ordering food online recently. What's the proper protocol? What's the guy on the other end of the phone want me to do when I'm reading off my credit card number? Am I supposed to just continue reading? Or after I say the first 4 numbers, am I supposed to wait for him to give me a okay? Okay.
I don't want to read the next one
because I just continue to interrupt this guy over and over.
I generally go in the 4-number groupings slowly and clearly, so that even somebody that's maybe fumbling around a little bit gets it. But it's weird. That is one of those social norms that we're still kind of developing as we transition to this whole thing. The one I'm looking forward to is can we get some more of the touchless ATM or credit card readers? For all the protocols we have in place everywhere you go, that seems to be the one thing where you continuously have to dirty the fingers when you're trying to make the transaction. For all the places that are even restricting cash now, they don't want your cash; they just want credit cards. And yet, we're all sharing those keypads together. So hopefully, we can get that figured out soon enough too. I got down with the Google Pay pay system the other day. So I've been trying to work my way into this brave new world of ours.
It's a lot of habit because I used to be in the habit of using that a lot. Then I got out of the habit, and I got to get back into the habit. But it's that's a handy deal if you can use it. That's for certain.
Oh, no doubt. But it's we've talked about it previously. I think there's going to be a number of things that we just we adapt to as this thing goes on that will likely become permanent. Without us even realizing, the transitions this whole episode has kind of forced on the way we do business and we live.
Absolutely. Some basketball news. The NCAA, they're making some changes to the net. They're removing 3 of the 5 components to it because I'll be honest with you, last year I was looking at that, I'm like, oh, this makes no freaking sense half the time because you'd have a team that was ranked ahead of a team that you're like, there's no way. And it just really was a weird deal. But, man, they've gutted that thing.
Yeah, in a very typical NCAA fashion, they roll something out that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. They defend it vigorously. And then when it's proven to be just completely ridiculous, they slowly and quietly retreat on it. It's difficult, I guess, when you look at the different models and the way in which the analytics are working, we're becoming so data-driven. At the end of the day, it really is, the weighting. How do you weight this versus that? And, that was the one thing with net was the outliers were just so egregious compared to, most national models. You look at the Pomeroys. RPI is obviously pretty flawed. But when you looked at RPI and it made more sense than the net, you knew that's when the system was probably unworkable for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, like I said, they've got that thing. We'll have that going forward. But just got off the phone off Josh Hemholdt. He's a recruiting analyst for Rivals for football, and Indiana has not been slowing down a lick, Chronic, on recruiting and getting these guys in here in this shortened, abbreviated spring.
This is a trend we're seeing now that I was just having a conversation over the weekend with a good friend about. Previously before all the conferences had their own networks and. Just the sports exploded on television, especially college sports. There was the opportunity for coaches to have a much stronger chance with recruits, peddling the relationships, peddling proximity to home, staying close to where you're grounded. And it's been interesting to see how teams have adjusted and adapted. And how, coaches like Tom Allen have really been able to capitalize on that relationship building, on the development, when you can't dazzle the kids with all the, the glitz of your newly renovated locker room and this, that, the other, it really comes down to people. And I think that this kind of modified or this changed situation or environment that they're all operating in now really benefits a staff like Tom Allen, who, a bunch of really good, genuine guys on staff. They clearly emphasize the total development of the player, not just the athletic side of it. And in troubling times, that seems like it's a message that probably resonates not just with a bunch of recruits, but probably most importantly with a bunch of the recruits' families. In troubling times, you want to make sure your son is going to be somewhere where he's going to be well looked after, where he's going to be safe, taken care of, and where he's going to have a chance to grow and flourish. And that has long since been Tom Allen's recruiting message, and it certainly appears that it's resonating loudly across the country right now.
Yeah, our next step is we got to get these guys on campus, and by these guys I mean all of the athletes, the students for these schools. Hopefully we're going to have fall sports, which that's a ways off, but everybody's heading in that direction. I know that is the goal of everyone. So if it's at all possible, it's going to happen because, the SEC is not going to give up football for certain that they're going to be playing. But, we can't predict, but we can hope. And it just seems like the hope is, at least right now, it's trending in a positive direction.
It certainly is. This is a time period as we kind of deal with this pandemic where, the restrictions are loosening up. Travel is going to be a little more free flowing, and it's probably going to be a really illustrative time as the data starts to pour in, how numbers move as physical movement increases, as contact increases. This is we have long talked about the models and the failures and the shortcomings of the models and everything else, but this is when the models actually have real-world applications. So as we see crowds going back out, we will soon very quickly be able to measure just what impact that has. Most of the experts I've read, indicate that it's going to be basically a roller coaster. You're going to see highs and lows, and it's going to continue to kind of fluctuate as this thing plays itself out. So we are just now kind of entering that next phase where, the numbers are still kind of all over the place. But we'll see what happens as the restrictions get lifted and how things go from there. The one thing that continues to be kind of concerning, as Mark Emmert indicated just recently, it's difficult to conceive a world where college athletics happens without actual college students on campuses. And while there's a lot of conference commissioners pushing back against that, that's all well and good from the organizational, the conference level. At the end of the day, you've got a bunch of university presidents who are really driving the bus on all of this, kind of like this pandemic response is being driven more locally at the governor's level. And these presidents are going to have to find a way that they can convince not just the students, but also, the faculty, the staff, the administration, just these massive behemoth organizations, what their plan is, what their vision is to get everybody back and how to keep everybody safe and what contingencies will be in place in the event that stuff gets a little sideways on us. Because I think that's one thing that we could all probably expect to see a whole lot more in the future is things are going to shift. It's going to continue to be very fluid. There's going to be promising signs. There's going to be, troubling signs. And just exactly how we roll with it and continue to adapt and hopefully find our way to the point that we can at least get the kids back on campus, because I think that's probably the condition proceeding before you see anybody lacing them back up again anytime soon on the field or on the court.
Yeah, and there's been different approaches to it from the college presidents. I mean, we've seen Mitch Daniels a while back just be very progressive thinking. Hey, we're planning on this, which he got a lot of flack over that. And I'll be honest with you, I don't care that he does that, because I'd rather someone be positive thinking. At least you can always walk it back and say, well, we wanted to do that. It didn't. But Indiana's been a little bit more conservative, the different schools. It's going to be weird to see how, but I think as a conference, whatever conference you're talking about, the schools will eventually come together and be unanimous in their decisions.
Yeah, and I think that's one thing that a lot of people have been clamoring for more than anything is just what's the plan? I'm not saying that it has to happen tomorrow, today, next week, but what is the plan? What's the path forward? What are the mile markers we have to successfully pass before we move on to the next step? And you're starting to see some of that emerge. And only once those are laid out very clearly can you really, wrap your mind and your hands around the logistics of it. For example, in the event that you do get everybody back on campus, what facilities do you identify as, okay, this is going to be our quarantine zone? Where do you get your supply chains? I know there's people vigorously working all over campuses, particularly in Bloomington right now, trying to figure out exactly what that looks like. How do you plan the logistics of a move-in if you've got to distance, some 8,000 plus families and all the stuff and the sweat and, going up and down the staircases. So I think this month is going to be critical, not just as the plans develop, but also recognizing when the end of the runway is, as far as the time it's going to take to prepare for that, because it is by no means a small undertaking to take a place like Bloomington, which is, let's be honest, this is one of Indiana's largest cities, just contained on campus itself. That's 55,000 students, graduate and undergraduate. So it is a huge planning endeavor to figure out how to get them all back on campus or, nearby and off campus of the residences and how that's going to operate. But there's going to be a cutoff point at some time. A lot of the leaders have indicated towards the end of this month, beginning of June, where they're going to have their arms around it, or else it's probably not going to be able to happen. So as a lot of this data comes back into us, as things start to ease up a little bit, there's going to be a whole lot of decisions that are guided by the facts on the ground and the way things are moving here.
Absolutely. Switching gears a little bit, a lot of talk here of late to the NCAA and men's basketball. We've followed the FBI corruption trial from last year and wondering when the shoe was going to start dropping. And we've seen that kind of happen with Louisville. And then the response to Kansas was pretty stern. Doesn't mean anything yet because they're going to fight that, of course. But then you got the Zion Williamson stuff coming out now with Duke. And it's not going to be the NW. Dick Vitale tweet this week that there's 2 more coming, which most of us expect that to be LSU and Arizona. But I was talking to Todd about this earlier. I don't see in any way, shape, or form or fashion the NCAA hammering all of their bigs at the same time. They're not going to punish Kansas and Louisville and Duke and all these teams at the same time. It's just not going to happen. But I don't know what's going to come out of this. It's a weird time for because there's so much change going on where I'm afraid, and I think a lot of people are afraid, the NCAA is going to try to say, well, we're making these changes here and basically penalize these teams a lot less for major things when you have programs back in the day like Indiana who were basically destroyed over calls and text messages. It's a weird time.
Even on the most normal of times, it would be really hard to envision the NCAA absolutely hammering the Blue Bloods. After the backlash from the USC case and how they kind of transitioned and took some of the teeth out of the enforcement, even in normal times, I would have a hard time believing that Kansas is going to get walloped, that Arizona is going to get walloped, that especially Duke is going to get walloped. I thought it was funny. No sooner than the news of the request for admissions came out, I get this notification on my phone. I think it was MSNBC talking about all the professional jobs Coach K's turned down. So you could already see the spit was in play there to protect the high priest of college basketball. But I think when you look at current times with all these institutions facing just unprecedented financial strain right now, I cannot envision a world where the NCAA, which again is a member-driven organization, it's not some magical being. This is a bunch of university presidents. They make the decisions, they call the shots, they sit on the boards. I can't imagine them hammering their blue bloods in this time. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't fit with any historical precedents, especially the recent trends. My guess is they will do what they normally do. They'll have all their hearings and their dog and pony shows, and then there are going to be some late probationary periods that probably go after some coaches pretty heavily. You'll see some show cause orders, but institutionally, I think this could be a pivot as much as they've talked about, reforming and being more reflective towards the actual situations that are occurring. And let's be honest, when you look at a program like Duke, and no matter how you weigh the credibility of the allegations, it was pretty obviously proven that Zion services were up for bid. And, the fact that he turned down a 6-figure offer to go to Duke, I can't imagine that he walked away from all of that cash, or that cash somehow wasn't greater than. That's not the way free markets generally work. But my guess is you're going to see the NCAA give a lot of lip service and do very little to actually change the situation. That's the one thing that they consistently have proven that they are really good at, is a lot of noise and very little meaningful action to change the issues they're supposedly addressing.
Absolutely. Chronic, when's the next podcast hitting?
I don't know. We've kind of transitioned into a summer mode right now. Unfortunately, Zach, as a Gannett employee, continues to be subject to their quarterly, I say quarterly, one week out of every month. The entire staff at all Gannett newspapers are being furloughed without pay. So he's trying to keep the columns full while he's there. We've been kicking around some ideas as far as how do you talk about sports when there's no sports happening? So I don't know. We're just kind of chilling right now, trying to take care of the families, trying to come up with some new ideas. We did the mailbag 2 weeks ago. I don't know. We're supposed to touch base later here this afternoon and figure out what it's looking like going forward. But expect to see some stuff. And more than anything, man, you'll buy some newspapers, buy a subscription. Not only are you getting great sports content that's going to keep you abreast of everything that's happening and the changes that are in store for us. There's been a ton of amazing reporting nationwide, locally, statewide, that's really keeping our eyes open to what's happening around us right now, and probably one of the most important times for the public to be informed. So there ain't nobody coming to save these papers. I don't know if anybody saw the story of the Herald Times, but he just lost our sports editor, and the editor-in-chief was not only fired, but he was evicted from the apartment that was part of his job. They're in distress. Help them out. Stay informed.
Absolutely. Chronic Hoosier joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat. Can't thank you enough, brother.
How's that for ending on a positive note? I appreciate you guys for having me. We'll catch you next week.
Do it every time, bro. Chronic Hoosier, the man here on Indiana Sports Beat, joining us.
See you, buddy.
From the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Yeah, no doubt that sucks about what they did to that sports editor at the Times. But, yeah, and that was during a time where you could not evict people, too. That was kind of a weird deal.
Yeah, none of that made any sense. And just reading there's been so many things happen with that. I mean, heck, it's been radio on-air personalities, newspaper writers. I mean, it's been everybody has been under the gun as of lately. So,
yeah, no doubt. Always great to have Chronic on. Yeah, we don't have to worry about the next podcast. Just come back here next Tuesday. We'll do that. Looking forward.
Mayor Chronic.
That's right. The mayor of Hoosier Nation.
His political.
I'm telling you, he is the unofficial mayor of Hoosier Nation.
I agree.
Hey, we got a little more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat. Make sure you come back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, powered by Rivals. We're back after this.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the Golf Club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. This is Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle and Leary. Indiana Sports Beat is now a part of the Rivals Network. You can go to thehoosier.com to sign up. It's free. Catch the show there each day live or at your convenience. You can also like or follow us on Facebook, follow the show's rebroadcast anywhere you podcast. If we're not on a radio station where you live, we should be. Let your local station know they need to carry Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle and Leary, or simply go to thehoosier.com.
Some of the best sounds you'll ever hear are generic, safe, effective, even money-saving, just like FDA-approved generic drugs. Even if they don't come in the exact same color or shape as their brand name equivalents, they have the same key ingredients and go through a rigorous review process. Talk to your doctor or pharmacist today and visit fda.gov/generic drugs. Generics are safe, effective, and can save you money. You'll like the sound of that.
This is James Blackman Jr., former Indiana Hoosier. Make sure you're keeping up with the Hoosiers on Indiana Sports Beat.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat. Coyle Leary with you, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, powered by Rivals. Make sure you go to thehoosier.com, get signed up. It's free. Complete coverage of the Hoosiers there. Text in from Alan, in regards to NCAA violators, start with the first findings and spread the penalties over the next 8 to 10 years. Look at how long, that would take forever. You'd have kids of people that were violators getting in trouble for their transgressions.
It's the same length of time it's taken for the investigation.
That's about right. Speaking of, because we look at Kenny Johnson, former IU assistant Kenny Johnson, former Louisville assistant Kenny Johnson, who was there and part of that FBI sting where Louisville got busted, out at LaSalle. He went to LaSalle. They hired him, unbelievably, but he's out, no longer a part of the staff. Is Pitino next?
Can you get fired before you even coach a game?
Very possibly. I mean, they've got to be concerned. I mean, he's listed as on with NCAA violations. But do they care about that because it's Iona? Or do they care more about it's Rick Pitino and we're getting all kinds of advertisement, publicity, attention because we got Rick Pitino and nobody cared about the Iona Gales before now. Now they do.
I don't know. That's one of those, for a program like that, the publicity is good from a recruiting standpoint, from a money standpoint. Their goal is to make the NCAA tournament, so the bar is pretty low for them. But I don't know. At some point, you've got to, you got to wonder if they're really worried about their image and that stuff. Rick Pitino, whether you like him or don't like him, whether you support him or don't, or whether you think he's guilty of breaking the rules or not, there has just been stuff that's followed him. So many different. He and Calipari. I mean, there's a bunch of guys fall into this category, and the trouble just seems to follow him. I mean, Bruce Pearl. I like him. I like him as coaches. I think they do a good job, but they
Kelvin Sampson
just seems like they struggle to not break the rules. Kelvin Sampson, another perfect example. I mean, it is very difficult to as an AD at Iona. I'm sure they're looking at it from the perspective of marketing dollars and what it's going to do for them. And if they can get to the NCAA tournament, that's a big boost in money revenue to a school like that. So they're probably willing to roll the dice. I mean, what happens if they're not looking at it from the standpoint of, they're not going to suffer, I don't think, because of it for hiring him. I don't know. It's just frustrating because we can watch these things happen and you can see Will Wade. And I don't have any reason to dislike Will Wade other than when I see him do an interview and says, I don't even know this guy. I've never had any business dealings with this guy. And then we hear, recorded phone calls from the FBI that he's actually talking to this guy and talking about making deals and buying players. And you're just like, how's that allowed?
This may be cheesy, but to me, it really brings home the Michael Jordans and the Michael Jordan story. This whole deal about him is about that he is so driven to win, but he's not cheating. Everything is accomplished by accomplishment, and boy, it'd be nice if we were all like that. But
yeah, I mean, people might think, and that was the funny part of his. Going into this episodes, I saw him on Good Morning America talking on there about it and saying, he was scared or nervous is not the right word, but he had a bad feeling that people were going to think he was a jerk when it came out of this thing. And people might come out of it thinking that. I mean, look, the players that he played with said he was a jerk, and they wouldn't trade it for anything. And they're just, Bob Knight's a jerk, but he's a great coach. I know he annoyed the crap out of me all the time, and if he told me to ram my head through the window, I would have done it. It's just like I wanted to be a part of that. It doesn't mean he's not always a jerk. Michael Jordan's not always a jerk. Bob Knight wasn't always a jerk, but a good portion of the time.
And the lessons you learned from Coach Knight seem to have obviously stayed with you. The jerk part, you forgot about it. I mean, you don't forget about it, but it doesn't affect you, where the positives affected you in a positive way.
Look, here's the thing. Here's one of the things that I got out of this, and I was surprised they hadn't used this word more during the whole Michael Jordan docuseries is Michael Jordan had everyone's respect. And, Bob Knight had everyone's respect. So, therefore, you're willing to live with kind of his bad attitude or the way that they dealt with. I mean, Jordan screaming and yelling at people. Yes. Does he cross the line sometimes? This is going to, okay. He punches a guy in the face. Is that crossing the line? Yes, it is. I mean, Coach Knight throat grabs somebody. Is that crossing the line? Yes. Does it mean he's the devil? No, it doesn't. I mean, it means he's trying to motivate. He wanted to motivate his players. That was his number one goal. And Michael Jordan wanted to motivate his teammates. That was the number one goal. I mean, that's just the way competitive sport is in that way. And Michael Jordan I don't think he looks like a jerk. I think he looks even more amazing after this thing than he did before. It doesn't mean he's not a jerk, but it means he's just an unbelievable competitor.
I think, too, that there's obviously a difference in sports and in life. You can't do in life what you would do in sports. I mean, it's just some of the stuff like hitting a guy in the face. Yeah, is it acceptable? No, but you understand it because there's the emotions, there's this, it's a physical thing. It's all this stuff's going on.
If that's at a bar,
yes,
it's a crime.
Exactly.
Because it's during practice. It's competitiveness.
It's okay.
It's competitiveness.
Once you see a fight all the time, we see fights in athletic events. Had that take place in a bar, they go to jail.
2 guys are going to jail. That's
now
exactly
it's
right.
technical for you. We're shooting free throws.
Now I get to leave practice early for one, and all I got to do is call the guy and say, hey, I'm sorry about that. I shouldn't have crossed the line. I shouldn't have done that. And we're all good. Like more things should be resolved that way.
Well, it used to be, unfortunately, but absolutely. But it's just been incredible watching that. But that level of commitment. Well, he ended the last episode that we saw, episode 8, I guess, the other night, in tears, talking about it's just how I played. That's just who I was. And if you don't want to play that way, then leave. And then he said, I got to take a break. He got emotional. It was that. People just don't understand. I can't. I understand, but I can't. I'm not going to say that I know what it feels like for him. But I know that dude's at a level, man. They're at levels that we cannot even comprehend of their competitiveness. It's crazy.
Yeah, and in my opinion, that's truly what makes Michael Jordan, one of the best, if not the best of all time. And the fact that
the difference maker,
he didn't. This is one of the things. Whether you want to argue that he's one of the best of all time or not, the fact that when he did the docuseries, a couple of maybe number 3 or 4 or whatever it was, when he literally would not lose a game. Like he did not understand how the Bulls were okay with losing a game so that the draft pick would be higher. I mean, the guy losing doesn't even register to him. He
cost him a lottery pick by winning one game too.
By winning one game, yeah, that's exactly right.
But he could not have done it any other way. You would have. Well, they did. They tried to hold him down for that very reason, limiting his minutes.
Every coach, and every program would love to have. Forget the talent level. Would love to have guys with that kind of mentality.
Dennis Rodman.
Jordan was just different from the standpoint of truly, like when he says win at all costs, I think a lot of people
take that the wrong way.
Say that. Well, I think a lot of people say that.
Oh, he means it.
But he means it. And if he means win at all costs means I give up my entire summer and I work out all summer long, then that's what I do.
Which is what he did when they came back from the second break and they lost. He couldn't stand it. He goes right to work. His trainer says, "Let me know when you want to get together." He goes, "I'll see you tomorrow."
How many young kids today are going to start smoking cigars in the locker room? I mean, this dude's smoking cigars in the locker room
before the game. This is before the game.
I know. I was cracking up. It was funny because I've told you that story about in Europe. In France. The coach of my team would smoke on the side, like on the bench, like during the games, and everybody in the stands was smoking. Like it made no sense to me, and to all of them, it was perfectly normal. They had no problem with it.
There's a scene when they're in the training room, and there's a bunch of like 4, 5, 6 of those guys there, and they're dressed. It's after they get their drinking beers. They're like, "Oh, don't show that on camera." He's like, "I can show whatever you want." And he's like, "What are you talking about, man?" Because I first came in the league, they're drinking half a case of beer, smoking cigarettes at the halftime, and they're getting the cigarettes from the coaches.
Yeah, I know. It's amazing. But I mean, you look at that. I think he's a freak athlete as it is. But to be able, I mean, this guy smokes cigars more than anyone I've ever seen in my life. And
it's crazy.
I don't understand how they were able to keep their their wind and stuff like that. It's insane. But I mean, that whole series is, there will definitely be people that come out of it and don't think Michael Jordan is a great person. And
I think he's awesome.
Oh man, I would love to have a teammate like that.
Oh,
like here's one thing that I'm surprised more they haven't talked more about.
It's almost impossible to lose.
How many times? I'd like to know how many teams there are across the country that don't have fights during a season in practice. I mean, if you don't, then I honestly, I'm telling you, you guys aren't playing hard enough. Because if you're not, I can remember coming out of practices bleeding, like scrapes all over my arms from guys' fingernails. I remember coming in the locker room like screaming at Chris Reynolds because he wouldn't cut his fingernails. And I had scrapes and stuff all over me. I'm like, look at me. I look like I got in a fight with a tiger. I look like it's Tiger King.
Tiger King.
And you just like I remember screaming and yelling and fighting about stuff. And that happens all the time. Like, that's just a normal thing.
Well, if you don't have it, you don't have any fun.
Then we went out to Mustard's and ate lunch.
Yeah, I was just saying that if you don't have that, you don't have fire.
Yeah, I don't know. It's the fight and all that stuff. I mean, yeah, like I'd be pissed if I was Steve Kerr because he said, "Man, I punched the littlest guy on the floor."
Yeah.
Like, hey, I don't need your pity, buddy. I'll take the punch in the face, but I don't need your pity.
Oh, man. Hey, great show today. Man, Josh Hemholdt from Rivals, National Football Recruiting Analyst is with us. Chronic Hoosiers is with us. Tons to talk about. Tomorrow, Jordan Hall's going to join us. I think Steve Aird, volleyball coach as well. I'm going to check into that. But also later in the week, Clark Kellogg's going to join us too. So we got plenty coming up this week, man. The weather's coming up. That's a great thing. Of course, unfortunately, the rain's going to come with it. But I'll take warm, rainy weather over cold sunshine all day long.
Day long.
Yeah, it's just pointless to me out there. But we appreciate everybody as always. Thanks for the text. We'll be back tomorrow to do it all again. We're keeping Jimmy John straight here, and thanks to Todd and everybody that came on. Until tomorrow, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.
Slow, quick, got no sense of humor.